Hey there, I'm Lisa Campion, and this is the Miracle of Healing on Empower Radio, where we discuss all kinds of healing, something the world needs a lot of these days, now more than ever. So if you're new to my show, I'm so glad to welcome you here. And if you've been listening for a while, welcome back. Super glad to have you. And I'm super glad to have our guest today. I've been wondering if you've been feeling like powerless and unable to find your mojo or create a fulfilling life for yourself. If that's true for you, you're going to really enjoy our guest today, Dave Shepp. He's a healer, a life coach, a claircognizant, and uses the story of the hero's journey to help you build a kingdom that's going to allow you to live your life purpose with a lot of juice and a lot of mojo. He's created this model of self-empowerment called the Soul Cube. And we're going to talk about that today in his upcoming book, which is called Discover Your Soul Cube. So welcome so much today to the show, Dave. It's so nice to see you again.
Thank you very much, Lisa. It's great to be here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had so much fun. Just a few weeks back, I was a guest on your podcast. So I want to put a shout out to your podcast, which is called Coaching for Leaders.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for having me on yours. So
yeah,
tell us a little bit about yourself, Dave. And you and I have a lot in common: empath, psychic, healer, Reiki master. It's always fun for me to talk to another healer.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got to be where you are right now.
Oh my gosh, I think the biggest thing about me is that I like to tell people is that I'm just one flawed human being. And I think we make the best life coaches because we've kind of been through it all. If you ever find a life coach who has had a normal upbringing, who is very grounded and hasn't had a lot of obstacles in life, I would challenge that because I think that the type of coaches and the type of empaths and the type of healers that have obstacles, that overcome challenges, they are best equipped to help. And you never know what your calling is. And I found out at a very early age that I could detect emotions from other people to the point to where it confused me whether it was my emotion or their emotion. Mm-hmm. And then when I got stronger and older and more wise, I could realize what's mine and what's theirs. And it really helped me to understand people and to see what they needed from me. There was a lot of times where I just kind of see emotions as colors. And so I can kind of see when someone is struggling or what they're struggling with. And it has been a very rewarding career for me because I was able to start doing this full time several years ago. And now I work in healing. I work in coaching. I have my podcast. I have a healing center here in Hillsboro, Oregon. And now I have a new book coming out next month. And I am just so super excited about my journey. And I just want to give away as much information as possible because I think that in that regards, I'm able to help heal people because so many people, they have that harsh internal voice.
Right.
And that harsh internal voice is partly them and part of circumstance or part of people who have limited them or put these shackles on someone's soul. And I work to help remove those shackles, so that we can unleash the genie and unbottle all that power that someone has.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you said, especially about like we have to walk the walk first. You know what I mean? Like people say, well, did you go to psychic university, Lisa? And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I graduated with a PhD from the School of Hard Knocks.
Exactly.
And I know that you have done that. You have like everything that you do, that you teach, that you coach, you figured out in yourself first. You're one of those people that have totally walked the walk. And now you get to talk the talk because you've struggled and overcome.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I'm also very good at picking and choosing who and what I listen to. I mean, I love all religions, but I pick and choose what I follow in those religions. And I follow the parts that are about love. And anybody who uses religion or uses the Bible as a weapon, it's like, no, you don't get it. That's not what this is about. It's purely about love. That's what we are. And if you feel that you need to diminish me or diminish another person based on your beliefs, you got it wrong, bub.
Yeah. I mean, I loved what you said about the, helping people unwind themselves from the inner critic, from that voice that's so hard on ourselves. Do you notice a pattern where when people have a real strong inner critic, the world shows up in criticism of us as well?
The biggest pattern I notice is that when um, people give away their personal power, and what I mean by that is they look for others for happiness. I'm only happy if this person approves of me. The approval of others. I have people that won't post something on social media without spending an hour and a half thinking about the wording, thinking about whether the lighting is right, if the right filter is on. And for me, my social media, I just like take a picture, write a couple of words, send it out there. I don't care because I'm authentic. So I've been teaching. I have a lot of resources that I use right now, and I have just a freebie on my website that is a little 5-day class on how to be your authentic self. And that the authenticity you're going to find is so valuable for reclaiming your personal power and reclaiming your self-worth, because we're going to talk about removing toxic relationships from your life, building a support system, as well as can you show who you really are without feeling condemned, and bringing that much closer. And I have so many people that hide the truth of who they are. And I hate that. It's like, I want to know the real you. And I'm not going to judge, and I'm not going to have any expectations. I'm just going to accept you for who you are. And I see that you're a flawed individual who wants to grow. And I love that. And I want to be there for that along the way. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is my book is called Discover Your Soul Cube. And it's tap into the unlimited power by activating your soul cube.
So, Dave, we were talking about the soul cube, and you were saying that it's the way that you've organized the cube. To me, sounds like it's about balancing the polarities that we have in us, the divine with the spiritual, the masculine with the feminine. What else is that? What it's about, balancing polarity?
It truly is. So it's that balance. So if you picture the cube itself with your soul cube, your God spark in the middle, and then you have the light and the dark, or the light and shadow, either one. Then you have the divine masculine with the divine feminine, and then you have your physical and spiritual, and those are all 6 sides of the cube. The only way that you can truly live a balanced, healthy life is if you're in balance with all of them. So if you're holding the cube in your hand and it's perfectly level, you're doing well. But if you visualize the cube and you see that it's off kilter because you're too much into the divine masculine, or you're too much into spirituality, that you are not taking care of your body. If you're too much into your body and you're not taking care of your spiritual, if you're breaking into the divine masculine to where you're turning off emotion and turning off nurturing and compassion, and then it comes with the light and shadow. Are you too focused on the light? Are you too focused on living a good life that you're not drawing on the power of your shadow? Because I believe that the shadow itself is our power.
Yeah.
The things about us that is dark, the things about us that we try to ignore, the things about us that we hide, if we spend so much time trying to hide and move away from our shadow, we're not using our power that it's meant for, so that we can help others. But when we truly tap into that shadow and we use that power to help others, to help the world, that's when we can truly see, because we're directing our energy outward then, instead of keeping it bottled up and keeping it inside of us. So that's a lot of what the soul cube is.
I love that you talk about the shadow, and just for people that may not know what that term is, and I'm going to loop something strange in here, because I know you also work with the hero's journey as one of your models. And I think one of the analogies that I use to explain what the shadow is Star Wars. I'm such a science fiction geek.
Yeah. I love you.
Don't tell anybody, but I'm a total science fiction geek. Okay, and the whole Star Wars theme is sort of like, we can look at the shadow that we know that Luke Skywalker has to confront the shadow aspect of him in the form of Darth Vader, and understand that if he has the opportunity to go down that pathway, and the only way to not go down that pathway is to confront it. Yep. Is to know that we have that inside of us and choose another way, and to know that we're full of anger and hatred and rage and blame and victimhood and all the 7 deadlies, if you want to go that way, and to really confront them, to really see, I have that, and I'm going to choose the other way. I'm going to choose the path of the light in this moment.
And I think that's what makes the strongest leaders. I think that's what makes the most authentic people. Everyone close in my life, everyone who knows me, knows who I am, knows what I'm capable of, and they know that I can be a scoundrel if I need to be in order to protect people, and
Right.
I own that. I'm not going to hide it, you know. And you know, all my loved ones. We were traveling once, and someone was talking about, well, be careful, don't get kidnapped, you know, traveling abroad, and they're like, I'm not worried, I'm with Dave. You know, I know he'd find me and he'd scorch the earth looking for me. I'm not worried, you know. And I was just laughing. I'm like, yeah, I would.
Mhm.
And they know that, and it's that comfort, and I have it within me to be really a jerk, but I choose not to be, and
Mhm.
that's what makes me special and gives me power.
It
You know,
makes
I
you safe,
yeah
actually. You
yeah.
know, because you're a really safe man, which is something that is rare in the world these days, and I think
Hmm.
an incredible healing agent. You know, to have a model of what is strong and sensitive. I know you're an empath because you and I have talked about that. You
Hmm.
know that you identify yourself as an empath, so you're sort of an empath warrior, right? That
Yeah.
makes you really safe. The empath side of you gets to tune into how people are feeling, and the warrior gets to stand up and do what needs to be done.
You know, it's so funny you say that, because part of my business, part of what I do is, I look for light seekers, people who are, they don't understand their abilities, they don't understand what they can do, and then as I work with them, they go and they turn into light workers,
Mm,
and they actually build practices that help others.
that's
And
great.
so I use those two things. And someone told me the one day, this was recently, and they're like, "Oh, well, you're just like a big old warrior of light, aren't you?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I love that! You're my new favorite person."
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because I never really thought about it like that. And the way that she said it was so real and so awesome. And she's like, "Yeah," she says, "you gather people,
It's
and you
cool.
teach them to use their abilities for good, and it's awesome." And that's part of my hero's journey. Is I used to always think of myself as Merlin, where I would go up to someone and be like the kingmaker.
Mm,
And then when I found my self love and I found my self respect, I realized that no, I'm not Merlin. I'm freaking King Arthur, you
hmm
know. And I claimed the kingdom, and I built my kingdom, and I built my Camelot. And now I'm going out looking for knights of my round table in the metaphysical realm. And that's a lot of my hero's journey on my website. You know, it's kind of geeky, you know, like you. I love science fiction. I love fantasy, but I tailored my website around that, because that's, I want people to get that. If they're going to work with me, if they're going to come down my hero's journey and do my 1 year program, they need to be as geeky as I am and understand these things, that there are the Star Wars, the light, the dark side of the Force, and you know,
I get it, man. I mean,
yeah,
I started my whole spiritual journey when I was like 14 because I wanted to be a Jedi.
yeah,
Like, no lie. Like,
yeah.
that's what I wanted. I wanted to be like a Jedi, and I was going to do whatever it took. And that actually started me at studying martial arts. And that, you know,
Hmm.
I have, even though I look like kind of a cupcake, I'm also a bit of a badass like you. Like, I've a couple of black belts, and you know, when we're done on the radio show today, I'm going to boxing class because I
Yeah.
need, like, I like that, like, um, I still like to hit things.
Yeah, no, I
You
do.
know, like, it just, that's where the, like, it's really good. Boxing is so good for my mental health. But I
Yeah.
totally get that about the warrior, and the light side of the warrior. I love that. You know, and I really was so fascinated in a way by your um, use of archetypes in your hero's journey. So, you know, you talk about sort of this process that people go through from the apprentice to all to the knight and then to the king. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. The way that I divided up my 1 year program is in 5 steps, and it's kind of that, again, that's a hero's journey. Every great story that we've ever loved, including, you know, Star Wars itself, you know,
Mhm.
everything, we always start out as something. So for me, I started out the apprentice, and that's where, when I find someone who has this potential or who is looking to be better, I'm looking for that apprentice stage of my program, is where they help to not doubt themselves anymore, to feel confident, to be able to say no to people, and also just to get rid of that toxicity in their life that is holding them down. And then after we go through this process, they turn into the craftsman. And then from the craftsman, that's where they learn to overcome anxiety and just start finding peace. Expect good things to happen by calming that inner voice, being able to forgive themselves, and being able to believe, and have hope. And then the third stage of my program is where they become the knight. And the night is where they learn to take control of certain situations, take initiative, prioritize personal growth as a really big thing, and also to figure out what their life purpose is. And leading by example. And again, I bring more hope into their lives. And then the next stage is the noble. And this is where I teach them to focus outward. So the first 3 parts of my program, they're focusing inward.
Right.
And then once we get to the 4th stage, which is almost like 7 or 8 months into my program, it's okay. I'm going to have an unselfish mindset, and I'm going to start living in truth and integrity. And I'm going to start cultivating followers, people in my life, not followers on social media, but just followers in general, people that respect them for who they are. And then from there, the final stage is where they graduate in the last part of my program, and they become the monarch. They create and lead their own kingdom. They're going to change lives for generations. They're going to dictate culture in their community, how to influence people, and how to make an impact on things that are important to you. And the first 4 of my program is I always put, you will know hope. I'm going to build hope in you. But that last stage, once we get to the monarch, I always tell people you are going to be hope for others.
That's beautiful.
And so that is like my hero's journey of what I do.
That's so beautiful. Well, thank you for doing that beautiful work in the world. And, we really need it. And I know we were talking before we got things rolling today that sort of the core ingredient of everything that you're giving is helping people find ways to love themselves. Is that?
Oh my God. Yeah, that is 100%. You cannot be on any kind of journey. You cannot be any kind of help to others, or you cannot know hope until you truly love yourself. And there are so many things in the world that make you feel inadequate, that make you feel like you're a failure. Just any, social media in general, all of these things, looking in on TV ads and seeing people saying, if you're not this, you're not that, and it's like, no, you are unique. You are special. You are a great individual. You came here for a purpose, and you came here to do things that were great for you. And everyone in us has that. Each of us has a piece of the divine. So if you have the divine in you, if you realize that, then think about how lovely and how wonderful you are, but you're so disconnected from your higher being. You're so disconnected from source, from yourself, because other people have told you that you're a failure. Other people have told you that you're inadequate. If you think about it from a child's perspective, if you remember your early childhood, your toddler years, where everyone's like, oh, you're amazing. You're going to be a doctor when you grow up. We love you. We love you. We love you. You're amazing. You can do anything. You're special. You're a prince. You're a princess. All these things. And then somewhere it changes, and you don't quite know where, but in your life, but somewhere around
first grade, that's what happened to me.
Yeah, it changes. And as we get older, we're starting to realize it. But then it's like, well, no, you're not perfect. You're not this perfect thing. And you have limitations. And here's the limitations I'm going to impose on you. And you're not strong enough to fight back at that time, because it could be coming from an adult, it could be coming from schoolmates, these sort of things, or many schoolmates. And then you start doubting yourself. You start going down this vision of this tunnel of, oh my God, I'm not good enough, I'm not cute enough, I'm not brave enough, I'm not strong enough, and I'm a victim, I'm weak. And then someone hurts you, and then you retreat into yourself because you don't know how to deal with that thing. And when I work with someone about self-love, we face all that crap head on. I go into some deep diving, and I find the root cause of, okay, who did this to you? What did this to you? How did this happen? Now let's heal it. And we go right into that. And it's hard. I mean, people are like, stop making me cry. I always get shit.
They're not getting their money's worth unless they cry. That's why I'm with you.
I always get shit because I never have Kleenex in my office.
Oh,
and I don't know why. I never think about it. I think it's a guy thing. Like, my office is very sparse, but it's just like, I don't have Kleenex, and people sit there crying their eyes on, do you have any Kleenex? I'm like, no, but here's a Wendy's napkin, And they're like, Dave, you really need a box of Kleenex.
Dave, I'm gonna send you a case.
So it's so funny. And the one woman left one day, she's like, I need to go change my jacket. My sleeves are all wet. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And then I always put it on my store list, buy Kleenex. I always forget. It's like this running joke in my practice. But it is, you got to deep dive. You got to get into that.
And if somebody was like listening to this, on their own, is there something they could do? Like, what's one thing we can do to cultivate self-love?
one thing I'd really like for, if you're listening today and you suffer from this and you're alone and you don't want to talk about it, I want you to stand in front of a mirror and I want you to look into your eyes and I just want you to say, I love you repeatedly until you feel it in your heart and you feel a shift in yourself. And you could be there for 5 minutes or you could be there for a half an hour.
Mm.
But I guarantee that if you do this, if you just look directly into your eyes and you just say repeatedly, I love you, I love you, I love you. And you just keep saying it until the ego stops fighting you, until the ego says, this is stupid. The ego is saying, why are you doing this? You don't deserve this. You're too stupid to stand here and say, I love you. Get rid of that, lose that. And then start seeing yourself spiritually, start seeing the God spark in you, the soul cube in you, and respect your soul cube. I'm making t-shirts that say, respect my soul cube, because it's that true. And respecting yourself, caring about yourself, and just say, I love you. You will feel this shift in your being and you're going to soften and your shoulders are going to raise up and your posture is going to change when you believe it. And it's such a simple practice and people don't understand the power of it. And I tell people do that every day for a month if you need to, but it will make some paradigm shifts in your being if you do that.
That's beautiful. I love it. Well, Dave, how can people find your stuff? Let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about your book. We'll see up on the screen here what your beautiful book looks like. I love the cover.
Thank you.
And here it is. So here's the book, Discover Your Soul Cube. Now, will it be available? How can people get it?
Right now, it's available on my website for pre-ordering. It's going to be out on April 20th, and they can pre-order it there. And then from there, it will be on Amazon. Working through all those details with that right now. Once the publishing happens, and then they can find me at my website, davesheppconsulting.com. And then I'm going to have a link on there this week that is going to be to my hero's journey, everything like that. There is a tab right there called Work With Me. But they can find me on social media, Dave.Shepp. It's just anytime that, and message me. I mean, if people have questions, I'm not one of those that I'm big enough that I have so many followers that I can't answer questions. I'm still in that sweet spot of anybody who anybody who messages me, I always get back to them because I love it. I love the interaction. I've had people that have been on my show as guests because they've messaged me for help. And I'm like, I would love to have you on my show to talk about the stuff that you and I talked about. And they're like, oh, hell yeah, I'll be on there, and they're very vulnerable, and it's just, it's amazing. And I think one of the biggest things I teach is I want you to be assertive and I want you to be in your power, but I want you to do it in a way that does not diminish others. And that's my biggest thing is I want you to stand strong, but never make someone else feel small by you being big.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Dave, for bringing the beauty of your work and showing us the light and how to hold our power with the real, authentic light, not the fakey. There's nothing wrong with me. Right. I'm perfect. I've never had a problem, and I'm no shadow. Not the fakey side of that. I'm so happy to know you and to help you broadcast your message out into the world. And
thank you.
You're the real deal, honey. So keep up the good work, and it's really important work.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I also love crystals, and I just want to tell you that the other day I found an obsidian Millennium Falcon that I ordered. And I was like, oh my God, I know. I thought you'd appreciate that.
I do. Send me a picture of it when you get it.
Well, I was like, oh my God, I have to have that. And I didn't even check the price. I'm just like, yoink, awesome. Order. It was an auction. I'm like, I'll buy it.
Totally love it. Oh my God. A cross section of two awesome things. Well, thank you so much, Dave, and thank all of you guys for tuning in to us today. You can find Dave at davesheppconsulting.com if you want to tune into him, and you can find me at lisacampion.com. I hope you drop by. I've got a lot of free gifts and free material for empaths, sensitive, psychics, and healers, and that's sort of my jam, training all the psychic sensitives and healers to fully step into their gifts, because the world needs all the healers it can get now more than ever, and that's what we're doing on the Miracle of Healing right here on Empower Radio.